Hey, what's up, guys? Combat Critic here. Let's take a look at this upcoming middleweight fight between Paulo Costa and Khamzat Chimaev. So let's get started. If we look at the records of these two fighters, starting with Chimaev, so Chimaev has 12 fights in total. He's won all 12 fights. If we talk about his 12 wins, he has won 6 fights via knockout, 5 via submission, and 1 via decision. So most of his wins or most of his fights have been finishes. Just one fight has gone the decision. Now let's take a look at Paulo Costa's record. So Costa has 16 fights and he's won 14 of his 16 fights, lost just 2. If we talk about his 14 wins, he has 11 wins via knockout. So he is really a knockout guy. He also has one submission win and 2 decision wins. If we talk about his 2 losses, he has been knocked out once and he has also lost via decision once in his career. Now let's take a look at the physical and career statistics of both these guys, starting with the height. So height is 6 feet 2 for Chimaev and it is 6 feet 1 for Paulo Costa. So Chimaev will have a slight 1 inch height advantage. Weight is even at 185 pounds for both these guys unless somebody misses weight. If we talk about the reach, it is 75 inches for Chimaev and 72 inches for Paulo Costa. So in this case, surprisingly, Chimaev also has a 3-inch reach advantage. If we talk about the stance, both these guys are orthodox stance fighters. And talking about the age, Chimaev is the younger fighter by about 3 years. However, both these guys are pretty young. I don't think age will play any role in this fight. Now let's talk about the career statistics of both these guys, starting with the strikes landed per minute. So this signifies the number of significant strikes that you land on your opponent per minute on average. This is 7.3 for Chimaev and it is 6.5 for Paulo Costa. So in this case, both these guys have pretty high output, but the advantage goes to Chimaev. He is landing quite a lot more significant strikes on his opponents per minute compared to Costa. Next up, we have the striking accuracy, which is 59% for Chimaev and it is 60% for Paulo Costa. So in this case, both these guys are pretty even, but a very slight advantage goes to Paulo Costa. He is slightly more accurate with his strikes. Next up, we have the strikes absorbed per minute. Now, this is the opposite of strikes landed per minute, and this signifies the number of significant strikes that you absorb from your opponent per minute. This is 3.98 for Chimaev and it is 6.38 for Paulo Costa. So in this case, the guy who has the lower number is actually having the advantage because he is getting hit lesser. So here the advantage goes to Chimaev. He is getting hit lesser compared to Paulo Costa. Next up, we have the striking defense, which is 41% for Chimaev and it is 47% for Paulo Costa. So in this case, Costa has an advantage. Overall, in the striking, the two metrics, both these guys have advantage in two metrics and it is pretty even. Now let's talk about the wrestling, grappling and BJJ stats, starting with the takedown average. So takedown average is 3.98 for Chimaev and it is just 0.53 for Paulo Costa. Paulo Costa does not really make use of wrestling in his fights. He is a stand and bang kind of guy. So in this case, a huge advantage goes to Chimaev. Next up, we have the takedown accuracy, which is 57% for Paulo Costa and it is 75% for Paulo Costa. So the advantage here goes to Paulo. He has the better takedown accuracy, but will he go for takedowns? I don't think he will, because if you look at the next stat, which is takedown defense, it is 100% for Chimaev. It's like nobody has tried to take him down because they know he is so good on the ground. If we talk about Costa, his takedown defense is also not pretty bad. It is 79%, and this 79% will definitely be tested in this fight by Khamzat Chimaev. So in this case, the takedown defense advantage goes to Chimaev. Next up, we have the submission average, which is the number of submission attempts in a 15-minute fight. This is 3.5 for Chimaev, and if you look at Paulo Costa, it is 0. Paulo Costa has never attempted a submission in the UFC till now. So a clear and a huge advantage goes to Chimaev. He is the better BJJ guy in this fight. If this fight goes to the ground, Costa will have problems. I think his best bet is to use his takedown defense of 79% and keep it standing. Now, now let's talk about the significant strikes by position for both these guys, starting with Chimaev. So 41% of all the strikes that Chimaev throws are from the standing position, 5% from the clinch, and 54% on the ground. So he really lands more strikes on the ground than in the standing position till now. Now let's compare it with Paulo Costa. So 85% of all the strikes that Costa throws are from the standing position, just 7% on the ground and just 8% on the ground. So Chimaev uses a lot more ground and pound in his game compared to Paulo Costa. If this fight goes to the ground, he has the submission advantage as well as the ground and pound advantage. Now let's take a look at the significant strikes by target. If we start with Chimaev, so 87% of all his strikes are to the head, 7% to the body, and just 5% to the leg. He is mostly head hunting most of the time in the striking game. Now let's talk about Paulo Costa. So 53% of all the strikes that Paulo throws are to the head, 41% to the body. So he is going to the body a lot more often than Chimaev, and just 6% to the leg. So both these guys do not use leg kicks in their game much. And if we talk about Costa, Costa is using body shots a lot in his game compared to Chimaev. This can give Chimaev troubles, but let's look at the next slide. Let's talk about the previous performances of these two guys, starting with Chimaev. So Chimaev in his last fight beat Kevin Holland by a submission dart choke in the very first round, and this fight happened in September of last year. So he is taking a year off to come back and fight. This is really unusual for Chimaev considering he was really active at the start of his UFC career. If we talk about the fight before this, he beat Gilbert Burns in a close fight and it was a unanimous win, but Chimaev had to face some adversity in this fight. This fight happened in April of last year. It was a 3-round fight and this is the only decision win that Chimaev has on his record. If we talk about the fight before that, he beat Li Jingliang via rear naked choke. Also in the first round, this fight happened in October of 2021. Before this, he beat Gerard Meerschaert via knockout. Also in the first round, this fight happened in September of 2020. And he beat Rice Mickey via TKO also in the very first round. And this fight happened in July of 2020. This is when Chimaev got really popular. And before that was his debut where he beat John Phillips by a dart choke in the second round. He totally dominated John in the first round and then finished him via darts in the second round. This fight happened just 1 week before in July of 2020 itself. So this man does not have a lot of UFC experience, but he has a lot of fans and a lot of people are saying he is the future of the middleweight division. Now let's talk about Paulo Costa. So Paulo Costa in his last fight beat Luke Rockhold via unanimous decision. It was a good hard fight, but Paulo was winning throughout the fight and that is why he won a unanimous decision. This was a 3-round fight and it happened in August of 2022. So this man is taking even more time than Khamzat Chimaev to fight. He has been out since August of last year and now he's fighting this year in September. So Paulo Costa does not really fight frequently, as we'll see. If we talk about the fight before that, he lost to Marvin Vittori via unanimous decision. And this was a 5-round fight. It showed that Paulo Costa can go the 5 rounds. His cardio is not as bad as we were expecting it to be. This fight happened in October of 2021. If we talk about the fight before that, he lost to Israel Adesanya, the former middleweight champion. And this was via TKO at knees and elbows and punches. This fight was stopped in the second round and this happened in September of 2020. So he's really fighting once in 2022, once in 2021, once in 2020. If we talk about the fight before that, he beat Yoel Romero via unanimous decision. Again, a very good fight. This happened in August of 2019 and it was a 3-round fight. So again, this man does not fight frequently at all. He's been fighting once a year for quite some time now. If we talk about the fight before that, he beat Uriah Hall via TKO in the second round. And this happened in July of 2018. Before this, he beat Johnny Hendricks via TKO. Hendricks was at the verge of his retirement, and this fight happened in 2017, and this stoppage happened in the second round. So both these guys, Chimaev does not have a lot of UFC experience, whereas Paulo Costa does not fight frequently. He fights once a year. If I have to pick a winner of this fight, I think it's pretty obvious. I'm gonna pick Khamzat Chimaev. I think he has better wrestling and better BJJ. If he takes Costa to the ground, it might be a finish in that round itself. In the striking, I think it's a bit of a toss-up. Both these guys are ahead in two of the four metrics that we have seen. Chimaev is the younger fighter. He has a slight advantage in the height and the reach as well. That could play into the fight as well. For these reasons, I'm picking Chimaev to win this fight. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'll see you guys in the next video.